Welcome back to the channel, everybody. In today's video, what we're going to be talking about is the financial banking switch that you need to be aware of, because this could set you up for success. But before we get into today's video, if you are new to the channel, you want to make sure that you are subscribed and that you also turn on that bell notification, because I am always dropping new content that's filled with education, not only in the financial world, but also the mindset world, that will help get you where you want to go in whatever aspect of your life you want to get to. So you definitely want to make sure you have that notification bell on so that you are notified every single time I drop a new video, so that you become the rock star achiever that you are. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So before I get into this switch that you need to be aware of, I want to get into my background, because I think it's important to understand where this information is coming from, so that you're not just blindly following some random guy on YouTube. So I have been in the financial industry for about 7 years or so. I've done everything from retirement planning to getting people out of debt to student loans to mortgage. And really anything to do with finances, I'm pretty well versed in it. Now, I currently do work for a bank as well. So I see some things that are going on internally in not only the bank that I work for, but a lot of other banking institutions. And it's pointing us in a new direction for where we're headed in the financial world. And it's something that unfortunately is not common knowledge. And I think it's not common knowledge because they haven't perfected this system yet. And until they do, they don't want to let the public in on what they're doing in case it fails for whatever reason. So I think that for the banking industry, I think that they're kind of holding this information back a little bit, because they want to make sure that this system is perfected before they go and just roll it out. So what this system essentially is that we're switching from, and what we're going to, is we're switching away from the SWIFT system, SWIFT, the SWIFT system. The SWIFT system has been around since, I believe, the 50s or 60s, and it was a way to track transactions, but also be able to do transactions not only from bank to bank, but internationally as well. And essentially, what we're seeing right now is we are in a new age of technology where people have the ability through apps like Venmo, and people have the ability through apps like PayPal and Zelle and Cash App and all of that stuff. They have the ability to transfer money from one entity to another, not only person to person, but also institutions have the ability to accept payment through these methods as well. Unfortunately, the banking institution is still on the SWIFT system. So they're running a little bit behind to keep up with these electronic transactions, and they're not able to process as many transactions that are happening electronically as they'd like to. So there is a delay, if you will, in what's happening in the real world technology-wise and where the banking system is right now. They just can't quite keep up. So what they're working on doing right now is switching over from the SWIFT system over to something called ISO 2022. And this is a project that I would say is probably about 5 years down the road or so. I don't have exact numbers. This isn't even something that they let us know working in a bank. But I've done enough research to know that this is where they're going to be going, because the writing is on the wall and they do drop little hints here and there. But ISO 2022. So essentially what ISO 2022 does is it's going to allow banks to settle transactions within seconds. And here's the example I'll give you. Currently, for us to settle transactions, it takes person to person, it's instant, but banks don't settle that quick. Banks, it takes a couple of days to a week to sometimes months if we're talking about international transactions. So even though me and you get our money right away, the banks don't get their money from the other bank for days, weeks, or months. So it takes them a while to settle up. So ideally, what ISO 2022 is going to do is it's going to be able and allow these banks to settle transactions within seconds. And it doesn't matter if it's bank to bank locally or it's bank to bank internationally. So they're trying to basically update the software system that banks run on to be able to settle transactions faster and be able to handle the amount of transactions that people are doing on a daily basis. So it's important to understand that this is where we are and this is where we're going. So I wanted to share that with you. And here's the reason why it's important to know this. So why is this important and why am I sharing this with you? Well, first and foremost, we've been hearing a lot about central bank digital currencies, and it's important to understand that this is where we're moving, is to digital currency. So essentially, this idea of fiat currency and cash is king, they're going to try to go by the wayside with fiat currency and not accept it any further. And they're only going to start pushing this CBDC when the time comes and the technology is perfected. So that's the first thing to prepare yourself for. But secondly, these CBDCs are going to be built on software and technology, and specifically digital ledgers and blockchain technology. So if you can figure out which companies are going to be building these, you have the opportunity to invest into those technology companies that are building these blockchains and these digital ledgers, and set yourself up in the long term when the switch does happen. Because if you're able to find out the company that's building the technology and invest into it, eventually the whole world is going to be on this central bank digital currency and this blockchain type technology. Therefore, you're now invested in something that the whole world is using. So I wanted to share this with you because it's important to understand what's going to be happening with your money regardless if you choose to invest in the technology or not, because you want to prepare for what's about to happen so that you don't get left behind, because ideally this is going to happen whether or not you understand it or not. So I wanted to share this with you because I think it's important to understand where we're going to be going in the future so that you can prepare yourself and your family and do it accordingly and have a game plan, because you don't want to get left behind as banking systems switch from one system to another, and then ultimately you're having to pick up the pieces and learn this new system. So if you did get value out of today's video, make sure that you give this a thumbs up. And if you do find interest in the financial industry, whether it be from paying off debt to interest rates to investing to cryptocurrency, this is definitely the channel for you, because I'm always sharing my journey along the way, what I know being a expert in the financial field and ultimately working for a bank. So if that is something that, again, you're interested in, make sure that you smash that subscribe button. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day and take care.